everybody. Again, we welcome you to Louisiana Catalyst, the Link podcast show. Excited to be here. I'm Deron Talley, Vice President of Louisiana Catalyst, here with my good friend, our president also, Mr. Quentin Durr.
Good morning.
And we also have Etheridge Pipeline, Mr. Caleb Etheridge and Josh Etheridge. How y'all doing this morning?
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Guys, I've been seeing the headlines. I've been seeing social media, other business events that I've gone to, and EPC is always a title sponsor, premier sponsor, but even more than that, the conversations around the work that EPC is doing right now is just on fire. Tell us a little bit about EPC and kind of how you guys came to be.
You can go with that one. You can go with that one.
I'll tell you. Yeah, EPC, we're a utility construction contractor, okay? So we put in fiber optics, a lot of natural gas, not the big pipelines like you think out through the fields that you hear about. We're more in the residential settings, the service up to the house, the meter set, but we also have fiber optic services as well. High-speed internet, you hear the word broadband in all these same meetings you're talking about. That's a big hot button topic. Well, we're an installer of that. We go underground with it. We can put it up on telephone poles, splice it together, troubleshoot it. Not only that, we can do coax, which is Comcast and Sparklight and people like that still run on the coax systems. We have full capabilities on that side as well. So that's kind of our gig. We've been around for about 5 years. We are, in the last about 2 years, I think we've really started to grasp the impact that we could have on our community and kind of got it in our head like, let's use this opportunity to train local people,
right.
And create local jobs. Let's go talk to our customers about that. Let's get them involved. And so that's kind of what you're seeing the last 2 years, really starting to reach out and start seeing just how big of an impact we make on this community by what we're doing and really making it a team effort. So, we're a utility installer, but it's starting to be a little more than that, right?
Right. That's kind of how when you get into an industry and then boom, it takes off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the angle changes. I'm sure when y'all first come in, y'all probably had one business plan, but then when rural broadband initiatives and all that takes off, you kind of got to go the route that the doors open. Well, how has that been with the whole initiative? I know COVID probably changed a lot for you.
COVID really. Let's step away from that for a second. You said the business plan. Mm-hmm. When we set out, we never really had revenues in mind. We were like, of course, we want to make some money.
Right.
But we said, hey, we would like to provide jobs for people in our area. And if we can do that for 10, 15 families, we've really done something, and we can rest easy if we die today. Kind of morbid, but that's what we thought. And then as it grew and grew and grew, 30 families, 40 families, 50 families, 60 families, we realized, we were like, oh my gosh, we can actually make a huge impact on the economy in our area. And the way people think here. Hey, you don't have to go out to North Dakota or Kentucky to find a great job. You can find it here and be with your family, which is something Louisiana has a hard time grasping for some reason. Yeah. And so we started seeing that, and that's why we started these other programs to keep people here. But with COVID coming through, it really shined a light on the lack of internet services and opportunities really for people in rural areas. Because, my kids, they were in Caldwell Parish at the time, and we were like, oh, well, if they got to stay home and do rural, satellite learning, we don't have the capability or the bandwidth to even carry that out there. So what do they do?
Right.
They can't go to the local library because it was shut down at that time.
Yeah, they figured out that broadband was essential. It's not, they talk about healthcare being essential and stuff. They figured out broadband was essential. And that's kind of, it timed out pretty good, but also you could tell that it lit a fire on the legislative side. All of a sudden it was like, okay, we're going to come, RDOF, we're pushing this through. We think broadband should be available to all of America just like power. We just built the power grid 30 years ago, had that big boom. We're going to get it out to everybody. Now you're seeing this broadband grid build. And so it's good timing for us.
For anybody under 40, if you go by or look at a house, you're not going to say, what's the electricity bill here?
No.
Let's be honest. You're going to say, do you guys have enough internet for Netflix? Because I ain't going to babysit these kids all day, right? You say, I need something to put these kids in front of the TV with.
Yeah, can I run my security system? Can I change my thermostat?
My PS5.
Can I game?
Can I game? Can my kids game at the same time? And so speed really became a deal because, you've got providers in a lot of the areas, but it's just not enough these days. 10 up and 3 down. I mean, 3 up and 10 down is not going to get it done anymore.
Right.
I mean, so they came out. They said, look, we're expecting this benchmark. If you don't have this, you're considered underserved. And so now you're seeing the dollars. You're seeing Gumbo Act from the state. A lot of those awards went out yesterday. A lot of parishes has got, this stuff is about to start rolling.
Right.
And that it's a good segue. We saw this coming. We have gotten heavily involved in it and saw it coming. And what we realized was we have a lack of workforce to build this. Mm-hmm. You can throw this money at it, but if there's no one there to build it, you're not going to get very far. And so that's what kind of led into our partnership with Delta Community College. So
it started about, I'd say, probably 11 months ago.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and that's one of the things here at Louisiana Catalyst. We always talk about collaboration. There's power in togetherness, and thus the name of our show here, The Link. How can we link together as a community, as businesses, as nonprofit entities, state entities, and for-profit entities to grow our community at all levels? So what you guys are doing with Louisiana Delta Community College is clearly addressing a need, not just for today, but maybe for oak trees that you guys and we may never even sit under.
Absolutely,
That's
yeah.
right. That's a cool analogy, too.
Yeah, that really is nice. I like that. I have to put that in the pocket. Yeah, that really is. I mean, it's kind of a deal where we said, look, we're lacking in workforce. I can remember 2 years ago, we were down at Damage Prevention Summit, something they do down in Baton Rouge where a lot of the operators get together. And we asked them, we said, what are the locate companies? You make a one call, locate company,
right.
Third party comes out, they locate everything that's in the ground, so you don't hit it when you put your stuff in the ground. We asked them, we said, what are y'all going to do about RDOF? What are y'all doing about all this money that's coming down when broadband starts running off in every parish at the same time?
Yeah.
And they looked at us and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you're the locate company. And you don't know this is coming. This is serious. And then we turn around, the legislative people is in the room. They're like, yeah, what are you talking about? Then we're like, okay, we got a real problem.
Yeah, they don't even understand the functionality of it.
And what it was going to take. So we were pretty well ahead of it. And then so we started saying, how do we start getting, at first it was about EPC. I'm not going to lie. I do pat ourselves on the back a little bit because when we started this thing, we weren't like, we're going to go make big money. We kind of thought, we're going to make some money. I'm tired of traveling. When he's talking about North Dakota and Kentucky, he's talking about me.
Right.
And what I'd been doing the 5-6 years before that. I said, I'm ready to go home. So, hey, it was like, we're going to get home, we're going to make some money, and we're going to employ some people. So I pat ourselves on the back for that. But in the last couple of years, we were like, okay, wait a second. We did Leadership Washita. We started realizing the people in the room and the networking and that this could be bigger than us. And that was the seed. And then we started reaching out, and like you said, namesake of this little show here, The Link, we started linking together. And we started realizing, oh man, we can really have an impact. And honestly, it's changed the trajectory of our company. We started linking up with those local people. We started linking up with Delta, and we said, not only how can EPC benefit, but how can our local community benefit from that? And that's where it's really taken off.
It's kind of crazy how the message really comes across to the customer. I mean, I don't know that I even pitch our services as much as I just pitch our involvement with the community,
Our values.
And our values. And a customer is so receptive of that, and maybe it's because it's a breath of fresh air. There we go.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the reason, but it really speaks to them when we start talking about training local people and getting, Aunt so-and-so's nephew to work.
Yeah, because you're not selling your features.
To the name.
You're not selling your features anymore. I try to tell our customers this. I say, by going with us, you're going with local. And so, I said, who is your core business? It's small businesses.
Right.
You want to go in there and you want to say, hey, you should go with us because we're $15 a month cheaper, or we got this feature here, or we'll give you automatic call forwarding, whatever. Go in there and say, hey, a signature with us is a signature with EPC, is a signature with Delta Community College, is a signature with Louisiana Workforce Commission,
right.
is a signature with one of your local community members. Guess what? You're probably going to be a lot more successful walking in there to that small business owner that you're trying to sell to, who's probably a member of the chamber, so they share the same values. You're going to be a lot more successful, and it's really starting to resonate. Now our customers are getting involved. How do we give to this? Oh, you need equipment to do your training with Delta? How do we donate? And so it's starting to really snowball, and we're excited about it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, talk about the changes you guys have seen. This is rural Louisiana, Northeast Louisiana, but just in the broadband conversation.
At first it was who's going to get the money. It was, that's the way it goes. It was like, who's going to get this money? I want some too. And that was kind of the handshaking and the who do we talk to and who's going to be in charge.
Well,
with
there was a
this.
lot of feeling out. I mean, they
Yeah.
come out, they said, look, beneath, they did this tour around, and they said, we're going to get this toolbox out. And, because people, they kept going around, and like we were still screaming it from the rooftops, but we didn't really know a lot about it. And we'd go in there to these police juries and stuff because we got word, hey, money's going to funnel through the police juries. That's how they're going to get it to each parish. We go to the police juries are like, we have no clue what you're talking about. So it was a lot of coaching. It was a lot of like, we know it's out there and we know it's going to happen, but nobody could really get their hands on what the process was going to look like. I don't think the state knew what it was going to look like at first. They're like, we're going to get this toolkit out to you, which was really kind of a list of a bunch of different, here's how it's going to go. We don't know what our metrics are going to be yet, but we're going to figure it out and get back to you on that. That's the front end of it. And then we started seeing it start materialize.
It was a lot of education.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like anything else. Somebody says you need to rewire your house. And you're like, I don't know the first thing about that. I wouldn't even know who to contact about that. And so, you have to kind of feel it out and say like, okay, let me get the people that would know how to do this, how to engineer this, what your needs are. Let's find out what your power needs are.
I was gonna say it really started then evolving into, and which is good. It came back to being about the community and the people, right? It came back to, okay, let's start looking at where we're gonna focus as a internet service provider and as a community, and see who needs it the most. Let's start counting up houses. Let's see how far apart those houses are, which basically tells you how much cable or cost you're going to incur to try to get them. What is feasible? Can we go 6 or 8 miles out here to this guy's house, or could we go 6 or 8 miles over here and get 12 people's houses? So it started making a turn back to the engineering side and the maximizing this money that we got. And for us, it changed to, how can we take this, what we call fiber boom, and turn it into an economic boom for our economies?
And not just for Monroe, but for each one of these individual economies. What we've actually seen over time is that people are leaving these rural co-ops and such like that because there's no internet out there. Well, they're flocking to these urban areas, which is detrimental to these small towns' economy. Yeah. And so one of the reasons they can't provide e-commerce out there is because of lack of internet capability. And so they really had to address that as much as the fiber to the home. They had to address fiber to the business of these small economies.
I know in Farmville, when we bought the old high school and we were working with Delta and the new campus there, we had taken in the old high school and the internet had been disconnected because the school had moved. But it took us about 5 months and a lot of political pull to get AT&T to hook it back up because they just simply didn't have the bandwidth to, and this is right in the middle of the city.
Yep.
And it's like, wow. Like a school couldn't get internet in the middle of the city.
There is a lack of infrastructure. And so, we kind of got back around to that, and now that's really been where the conversation's been focused. Let's take this money, let's maximize it. Let's maximize it not only for how many ways can we make this work for us? On our side of things, it's on the employment side. How do we train local people? Because I'll tell you, I mean, these people, it's going to be a lot of work, and it grabs the attention of people, and it grabs the attention of out-of-town people as well. And they come in, and they'll build it, and then they're going to leave. And, how much really does that do for you as a community, the ones that are still there? Yes, you're getting the e-commerce side. You're getting that equation answered. You're getting the infrastructure, and it's great. But, why don't we take our local people, train our local people in these skills, which takes, 6-8 weeks to give them the basic building blocks. You put them out there on the job site, and in those 6 weeks, you hit fast forward on a year of what they'd have learned out there.
Right.
So now they get that first 6 months in, they're where you need them. They're a very useful individual for you as a company. And then now that money is going on their paycheck in their local community where it's being built, getting spent at their grocery stores, their convenience store, and their gas tanks.
Well,
and you're
also
starting to roll that dollar over and over.
And that dollar goes into their bank, which hopefully is a community bank.
Yep.
We try to do all our business with community banks, local banks.
Yeah.
And we hope that everybody else tries to do that as well.
Yeah.
But, we actually on a call I had with one of the larger national companies that deploys fiber, he said on a conference call, he said, we change the landscape everywhere we go. And that, I think that might have been the turning point of when I was like, this is going to be big, and we need to start really looking forward to how we're going to sustain it. Right. We had a roundtable meeting with, I guess we invited at Delta, I guess we invited like everybody we could think of that would have any effect on this training programs.
Yep.
Some people in the room were, opposite competing companies, competing operators. Others were competing contractors. And so, first question I asked when I got in the room, I got in front and I said, how many people in here have stolen somebody from somebody else in this room within the last 2 weeks?
He jumped right into it.
I just wanted to see some hands.
Right.
Because that model, and then I said, how many of y'all have had to give a raise to keep somebody from going somewhere else over the last 2 weeks?
We're shirt swapping.
We're shirt swapping.
Right? And
We're
that's
driving the
and
market value up too, because the customer is not going to win. The rural America is not going to win with this. Every time you have to up your price, you get a little less fiber deployment.
That's right.
So that John Doe that lives down Farmer Lane, he might not get it because we've driven the market so high. 'Cause
labor's now more because you're just trying to outbid somebody for the same
Right.
person. You didn't add anybody to the workforce.
there's no
mind
value
you.
added.
And
It's
let me
expensive.
tell you what I know. A lot of times I see it on our natural gas side. CenterPoint Energy has 27 contractors, I think, in Louisiana and Mississippi. And they'll call somebody up. Hey, I've got 6 weeks worth of work up here. Blah blah blah. Can you come do it? Yep. They drive into town, and everybody on my workforce gets a phone call. They don't have the people to do it. They just plan on grabbing your people real quick.
Right.
CenterPoint doesn't really appreciate that because if you look at it at the end of the day, they're looking at all of us like we're one contractor. That's their workforce. You just moved from A to B. You didn't increase anything. We're trying to form a system that is sustainable where we are actually adding numbers to the workforce. I mean, just CenterPoint alone, they're looking at me going, all this is forward looking and all those things, but, every year I'm hearing like for the next 5 years, our spend budget is going to look like it's going to be increasing year over year for the next 5 years. So there will likely be a gas technician program that's going to come through Delta eventually. Right now, fiber's what's on our doorstep, so we're going to try to answer that call.
Engage that,
But
yeah.
we're going to turn and look and go, okay, what are the needs of the gas industries? So we're talking with the Atmoses. Hey, how can we get working and hooked up with y'all? We're working with CenterPoint right now, but what we do know is that's going to cause a demand for those skills.
Right.
We're going to get to that.
Wow.
We're starting here. We're going to get to that. But they don't appreciate the shirt swap, and they don't need. It doesn't do anything for anybody. And like Josh said, all it does is drive up labor prices and costs. It means less people getting fiber.
Wow.
Right.
So
And the truth is, it's not really a segue, but you get such a better quality for somebody that has to be accountable because they live here.
yeah,
Somebody that gets called in to do this work, and what are they going to do? They're going to put it in because they're here for margins, right?
Right.
Put it in. Speed is your friend. Put it in as fast as you can, then you haul butt to the next place, right?
and you leave it.
And you leave it. So these fiber companies now that are here to maintain it, who are they going to call now? They can't call them. They're out of Missouri, and they might do good work. I mean, I don't know, but they might do good work. But it doesn't matter. They're gone now. And there's no, if there's ruts in somebody's yard, if they damaged a sewer system, if whatever happened, they're gone. Whereas I use this analogy all the time. There is somebody's aunt that plays piano at their church that's going to tap them on the shoulder and say, your company was out in my yard last week, and now my toilet doesn't flush.
Because it's happened.
That's happened to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that's
had
happened to
people
me.
come back from the weekend and they're like, hey, so-and-so pulled me aside at church, said that we were in their yard the other day and now there's some ruts. I'm like, go take a tamp over there, tamp the ruts out.
Take care of
Or
it.
put some sand or some sod in it, and we're taking care of it right then because it's our local reputation, right? Stuff happens. But if you're not local to it's just a little bit of extra, that you get with hiring a local contractor and a local
And there's a
workforce.
certain amount of pride with it, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our wives hate going anywhere with us in North Louisiana or even like Texas or Mississippi because anytime we go somewhere, it's like, see that handhole? We placed that handhole. Yeah, I mean, it's like a house builder.
That's
They're,
right.
they're like, you're like, man, that was
I
a
get pictures from my friends. I've got one buddy in particular. He's the owner of Premier Chiropractic. He'll send me a picture of it, and he says, "You put this handhole in." So we deal with that.
Yes,
He
indeed.
kind of picks at us, but we're real proud of the work we do. So
Yes,
it's just
indeed.
that little extra edge, that you get with a local contractor. So.
Well, guys, listen, it's been great talking to you. Feel like I can talk to you for hours. But you're always welcome here at Louisiana Catalyst, the link. And we thank you for being a link in this community, not just in the broadband and in the utility industry, but obviously in the workforce area as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
man.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate being here and y'all
yeah.
having us on. Absolutely.
This is fun. This is awesome.
I can talk about this stuff all day. So as soon as you need us back, just holler at us.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, guys.
All right, buddy.
Thanks.